The votes are once again in, and Venator is our 4th hero added to Deadlock as a part of the Old Gods, New Blood major update in Deadlock. Hey everyone, this is Connor here at Dead Unlocked. Today I want to do a standard ability breakdown for Venator. I want to go through each of his abilities one by one, demonstrate how they work, talk about them, show off his weapon, his animations, his melees, his lore, and even talk a little bit about some early build ideas for Venator. Let's get right into it. Before we get into abilities, just first look at Venator here, his animations. For some reason, he's giving me, he seems like he belongs in Trigun. He's a priest with every kind of weapon imaginable. He's got a machine gun we'll look at in a second. He's got a blunderbuss shotgun kind of thing. He's got a crossbow. And he also just looks great. He's got a cool kind of like monotone purple, color palette a little bit. So let's start off kind of looking at his animations here. So his slide's pretty cool. He's got the double gun out. The Akimbo priest is pretty sick. A headbutt light melee is so funny. And then his heavy melee looks like it is that stab. Really cool looking. Let's take a look at now his weapon, how it works, what to expect. Now we'll break down all the weapons in Venator's kit kind of as we talk about the character, but the one you fire with your left click is a machine gun. It's got 33 ammo in the clip. We'll take a look at what that looks like. It's got a pretty, base assault rifle fire rate. This is going to feel for a lot of people really familiar, and this is why I called him John Deadlock. I think this is going to immediately be a player that, or a hero rather, that new players can come in and get a grasp of right away, but we'll take a look at what that looks like full clip at a base level on Abrams here. Does 264 damage, so that means that each bullet is dealing 8 damage standard or 13 damage as a headshot. So, yeah, that's kind of the baseline. Again, that's the first one of Venator's weapons we're looking at. Let's take a look at his kit, which is going to show us what the rest of those, weapons do and what they look like. Getting into abilities, we'll start with the one ability on Venator, and that is Consecrating Grenade. This is something you can use every 25 seconds baseline with a 4.5 meter area of effect. Fire a grenade that bounces before exploding, dealing weapon damage and setting enemies on fire. So immediately something that's going to proc weapon damage. But also, burning targets deal pure damage to enemies in the area and suffer from reduced healing. So we are going to see some pure damage coming through on Venator. This is definitely something that is not going to scale the way you would think it would. A lot of times these one abilities on heroes scale with Spirit, and Spirit really doesn't interact with this at all. This has a 3.5 second debuff duration, again 4.5 meter burn radius. Applies that reduced heal damage per second and does base damage when it explodes, as you can see there. Upgrading this one gives you reduced cooldown, gives you extra 1.5 meter explosion and burn radius, and then the max level of this is actually going to reduce healing by 20% and also allow for charges. So let's see what Consecrating Grenade looks like. Got cooldowns turned off here. So you can see it bounces like... Is it just once, or will it bounce a few different times? So it'll bounce on the ground once, but you can skip it off of a sidewall to then hit someone and explode. So as long as it just hits the ground once, there's gonna be a lot of really cool plays you can do with this, as far as like, a low bounce going off the wall and maybe a higher trajectory, maybe if I can get it to work, something like that. But you can also just obviously shoot it straight at the target and get it to proc that way. That initial damage is that 35 that scales with weapon damage at a 1.2x clip. And then his on-hit damage per second looks like it's going to scale with his level up boons and kind of as you progress through the game naturally. So that is Consecrated Grenade. Cool ability. Not another weapon yet for Venator, but something else in his arsenal of ways to deal damage. So cool. With the 2 ability for Venator, we see the purpose of the shotgun in his left hand. You can use this one every 26 seconds, has a 10 meter range. Fire a blast with your shotgun, dealing weapon damage and pushing enemies back. Enemies near a wall receive a stun and take bonus weapon damage. Again, everything here scales off weapon damage, so there's really... I'm not seeing yet really any reason to buy a Spirit item on Venator outside of like a cooldown reduction maybe. This one, like I said, deals 60 damage base, 30 extra damage as far as if you hit someone against a wall with a 0.65 second stun duration. As you level this one up, you get bonus damage, just 25 damage on the first level. The second level for this one, minus 8 second ability cooldown and plus 2.5 meter ability range, makes it a little easier to hit. And then on top level, at the tier 5 or tier 3, whatever you want to call it, on wall stun, your next heavy melee is blessed. I don't know exactly what that means, but I love it. We're gonna show off what that one. We're gonna have to look at what that looks like. But this is what the shotgun looks like. And there it is, hitting the wall. You see that little mini stun right there. Cool voice lines from Venator in this one as well. You really get to like hear the hero's personality. Okay, we're gonna max level this. So on wall stun, your next heavy melee is blessed. I want to know what that means, what that looks like. So we'll use it, longer stun, And there's the Blessed Heavy Melee. Okay, it has a slightly different, like a sound. So obviously we destroy the Abrams there. We'll show it again. So again, max leveled on wall stun. Your next heavy melee is Blessed. All right, there it is. That little dink, that little extra damage is what we mean there. So that's the standard heavy melee, 134 damage. Blessed looks like it's dealing some like kind of pure damage flat on top of that. So either way, that's kind of what the Gutshot looks like on Venator. Super cool. This will just be, again, this is already shaping up to be a really interesting hero, especially in conjunction with some of the previous ones, because of all the weapon damage scaling. You have Silver and Venator back to back, looking like they're going to be considerable weapon damage heroes. But let's take a look at the rest of his abilities as well. All right, Venator's 3 has a crazy name, Hex-Lined Snap Trap. Let's take a look at what this does. Kick a trap that arms after a brief delay. The trap springs on the first enemy it touches, dealing spirit damage. Okay, finally some spirit damage coming into Venator's kit. Applying immobilize and revealing enemies for a short duration afterwards. This looks like it's in a 2-meter radius, has 2 charges initially. Those regenerate every 8 seconds, and the cooldown on this one is 30 seconds. So this does 87 damage flat with a 1.6x spirit scaling. Pretty good spirit scaling, actually. Could do some damage down the line. The immobilized duration is 1.5 seconds. Again, this is kind of a classic thing in Deadlock. The 3 ability a lot of times is your crowd control or shutdown ability, and it definitely is that for Venator. 5-second debuff duration and a 30-second lifetime on the actual trap. Level 1 increase here is minus 12 seconds cooldown. Level 2 is it increases the mobilized duration by 0.75 seconds. Wow, so like a 50% bonus to immobilize is pretty good. And the top level on this one is you deal plus 20% flat against targets. So that's pretty cool. Let's take a look at what this looks like.
Drops out.
He literally does kick it. Oh, and it slides across. That's kind of a sick animation. What the heck? That's cool. So that's going to be the radius. Obviously, you proc this one, and then that's what the trap obviously looks like.
Ready for the fight.
So even if you kick it past another, against an enemy, it's going to just slide right past them.
They'll walk right into this.
But if it lands in someone's, where they're standing or where they are, it will immediately proc. So this kind of has like a similar skill shot as like how you'd think of maybe like a Calico Dash, where you have to, I think, know your duration right away, or not your duration, your, how far you are away from the person, and kind of get used to throwing those in the, in the right spot. Otherwise, this will be just one that you use as a setup tool. But either way, really cool to see a little immobilize from Venator. But now we have to figure out, what does the crossbow do on his back? And that crossbow looks like it is Venator's ultimate, Ira Domini. We have some Latin here. This is on a 140-second cooldown, lasts 15 seconds. Load your crossbow with 3 stakes, dealing massively increased weapon damage. The final stake is Blessed, dealing bonus pure damage and executing low health enemies. So that actually gives us the flavor text of what Blessed means. That's good. So this is, again, bonus pure damage on that and executing low health enemies. Really cool. So the damage here is 120 stock with a 1.7x weapon scaling investment. So again, the more weapon damage you bought into, the more this is just going to really burst people down. Your Blessed is 112. That is a 3x level up with your hero level. I'll have to look at what that means. I think that's probably means it's just going to really deal way more damage later in the game, though. Your execute threshold is 8%. By the way, this is our second execute mechanic in the game, behind Shiv, obviously, who has his ability to execute as well. So this will be interesting to see how the two of them kind of stack up against one another early. Upgrades for this, while active, gain 1.2 move speed per second, meter per second move speed. Second upgrade, minus 15% ability cooldown and 150 bonus damage. Wow. And then the top level is all stakes are Blessed. Wow, this is going to deal so much damage at max level. This is going to be crazy. So, again, you get 3 stakes here, the final stake being Blessed. Let's see what this looks like.
They can run.
So there's Ira Domini. That's how long you have to use this. You actually have quite a while to get these off. Normal stake does 120, and there is a little bit of time in between them. And then our Blessed stake here, and you see Venator begins to glow here, looking hella blessed. Fires that last stake in. At max level, though, we have to see what it looks like when all the stakes are Blessed. So Venator's glowing right away. What? That was a ton! What the heck? That's so much damage. Sorry, I'm like yelling. That is crazy. I know we're obviously dealing with a level 1 Abrams here and whatnot, but like, oh my gosh. If every single one is Blessed, that's 120 plus any scaling plus 268. I mean, at a baseline, that is so much damage. Obviously, you're never going to have Venator max ult against a level 1 Abrams, right? Like, this is a little bit of a weird example to show, but still, that is a ton of damage from his ultimate. This is going to be a really, really cool one to follow. But before we get into those abilities and how you might go ahead and build Venator, let's take a look at who Venator is in the game and take a look at his in-game lore. This was just updated. Backstory: the Venators of St. Benedict are a Vatican-sanctioned order whose members are deployed to regions with a high concentration of supernatural predators. Few in number, their modus operandi is to observe, identify, and exterminate. They are methodical, they are precise, and once they identify a threat to the flock, they are relentless. Hardcore first paragraph. But even amongst those who are called the Sword of St. Benedict, one stands apart from the others. A man whose hardened heart has allowed him to pay terrible prices in the name of the greater good, and he has once again been dispatched to New York. Also, can we just talk about how epic it is that Silver gets released, and then immediately there's like a wolf, you know, I mean, he's really probably like a vampire hunter, but I imagine he's hunting some werewolves as well, that we immediately have a hunter on the scene dispatched to handle all the Silvers and everyone else out there in the world. But anyway, this is a cool look at Venator and a little look at his backstory, but let's take a look at some of his his zipline animation, some last elements of Venator, and how we might build this hero from a day one perspective. So here is Venator on the zipline as he cruises into the Cursed Apple. Pretty standard zipline animation, nothing too crazy to speak of. I really do love his slide, by the way. Such a good look. I mean, overall, this character is really, really cool. Even if his kit is a little bit more on the basic side, I think people are still going to find a lot of nuanced ways to play him. But speaking of his kit, here is the default Venator build, and it's as you would expect. Not a lot of spirit investment here, and understandably so on the hero. I mean, you really only get help to your trap ability out of that, so maybe if you're playing some kind of trapper build, you would buy spirit, but otherwise, I think the sensible builds here are all going to be gun-related. I think with the way his assault rifle plays, too, I think that's going to be a huge part of his kit, and probably the main, way you're dealing damage with this hero at the end of the day. Obviously, his ult will smack, but that is also going to come with weapon investment, so anything you can do to increase your weapon damage and increase the output of that ult is also going to be great for your burst damage. And then you'll probably, honestly, this default build, I usually hate on him, is actually pretty good, I think. I mean, this is a good, probably starting point for how you're going to want to build Venator. Has a lot of key items that you might want to build. And overall, I mean, that is, I think, going to be the playstyle of this hero, right? I mean, you think this is just your basic hero. I tell a lot of people who are new to Deadlock to play 7 to learn the game. I'm probably now going to tell them to learn Venator, because most people come to Deadlock from a somewhat FPS background. There's going to be people who come from Dota and League of Legends who obviously are more MOBA-oriented, but a lot of players are coming from hero shooters, or maybe even like a pure, just like non-hero shooter like Call of Duty or Valorant or something, and those players are really going to, I think, love Venator. This gun is going to be super, super fun to scale, and it's going to do some devastating stuff. But in general, would love to hear you all's thoughts on Venator. Is this John Deadlock, like I'm saying? Is there more nuance that I'm missing here? What do we think about the pure damage and blessed? I'd love to hear it all in the comments. Sadly, I'm the only Apollo voter out there, it seems like, because we're just never going to get Apollo in this game, but this does leave us with Apollo and Celeste left. Definitely let me know in the comments as well about who you think is going to be the last hero added, kind of the sore loser of this update. But as always, thank you all so much for tuning in. From our house to yours, we'll see you all next time here at Dead Unlocked.